This is Davey Boy Smith Jr., and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the interactive interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
So what you gonna do?
Let me talk to you, dummies.
Oh, yeah.
You're where it's at.
If you're smart like me, you gotta listen.
And if you don't listen to it, I'll come out of your computer and body slam your ass.
Don't be a Melvin.
I will scar you.
Open your third eye.
Woo! It's gonna be cool.
Oh, what a rush.
It's showtime!
We had a lovely conversation.
To the interactive interview. Interactive Wrestling Radio.
The Epicenter.
This is Teddy Hart. I am the past, present, and future professional wrestling. Welcome to the interactive interview.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an exciting week here at the Wrestling Epicenter. This is Interactive Wrestling Radio, and my name is James Walsh, and this week we have two exclusive interviews for you with two exciting and very different kind of guests. First of all, from Major League Wrestling, I am going to be speaking to the son of the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. You might know him as D.H. Smith. You might know him as British Bulldog Jr. Right now, he is Davey Boy Smith Jr., appearing with the Hart Foundation in Major League Wrestling, and we have him on to discuss MLW. We also discuss the current going on in wrestling, as well as his venture into MMA. So I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. And as well, we have our second, I hate this expression, but our second little person. And that little person, the first one, by the way, was Puppet the Psycho Dwarf, who discussed about stapling his testicles to his leg in our interview. So Swoggle had a lot to live up to. Of course, I just let the cat out of the bag. Hornswoggle joins us as he has his book out, finally. He has been working on it for quite a little while now, and it is called Life is Short and So Am I. It is a great read. It came out on my birthday, September 10th. Great, great read. If you haven't picked it up already, pick it up on Amazon.com. It's available in all your digital wonky formats. Buy a book, okay? Have something on the shelf, because don't you want to know years later, hey, remember when I bought this? I mean, maybe I'm a hoarder in this sense, but when I buy a movie, I buy the disc. I put it on the shelf. This way in 5 years, I might see it on the shelf and go, oh, I haven't watched that in a while, and put it on. Music, same thing. Anyway, I'm ranting. I'm way off topic here. Major League Wrestling has their pay-per-view coming up on November 2nd. It is called Saturday Night Super Fight. It's got a big main event happening. The world title is on the line as Fatu defends against L.A. Park. We don't know quite where the Hart Foundation is going to land on there, but man, great to have Davey Boy on, Davey Boy Smith Jr. This makes quite a few members of the Hart Foundation that we've had on. We had Bret the Hitman Hart.
This is Bret the Hitman Hart, and you're listening to the interactive interview.
Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
Yes, this is Jim the Anvil Neidhart of the Hart Foundation. You're listening to 3 Count Wrestling.
Natalia. Well represented in Hart family goodness here at the Wrestling Epicenter. And if you guys want to hear those classic interviews, they're available in the archives. I'm just about done babbling. Hope you guys enjoyed my little speech here. And if you tuned in for the interviews, which you probably did, stay tuned and we'll get to those right after this at the Wrestling Epicenter.
This is Alexander Hammerstone, your boy Hammer, and you are listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
Like what you're hearing? Follow us on social media. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/Wrestling Epicenter, or just search Wrestling Epicenter in the search box on Facebook. On Twitter at WEpicenter. On YouTube at IWR Interactive. And of course, check us out at WrestlingEpicenter.com, your hub and home of all things professional wrestling interviews. We're the originals, and we love what we do. Welcome to another edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio. On the Newsmaker line with us is another member of the Hart family, the Hart Dynasty, the Hart Foundation, if you will. Gentlemen, I am so happy to have on Davey Boy Smith Jr. Are you with me, sir?
Yes, I am. Thanks a lot for having me on.
It's a pleasure to have you, and I hope I'm not telling tales out of school, but Brian Pillman Jr., who joined us about a year and a half ago, is somewhere in the background there. So if you can hear us, that's pretty cool. All right, so you guys are watching
something else, but yeah, for sure.
All right, so you guys are watching some MLW footage, and of course that's what we're here to talk about. MLW, really excited as MLW continues to grow. What is your thoughts right now of the state of Major League Wrestling?
You know what? I think that MLW is making some great strides. You know, I see constant improvement every single week with the product, and it's great to see that, you know, guys like myself and then up-and-comers like Brian Pillman Jr. are able to get, you know, onto TV and get some good exposure. I think that MLW is something that's good, is that I think that it provides something for everybody, you know, for all kinds of wrestling fans, whether if you like hardcore wrestling, if you like the shoot style, if you like the lucha libre style. So, you know, I think that they bring the best from guys from Mexico, Canada, all over the place. They've even brought a few guys over from Japan. And it's really great that I'm able to be a part of MLW. I've known Court Bauer for quite a long time, and Court's been really great with me and has, you know, really given myself, Teddy Hart, and Brian Pillman Jr. the, you know, sort of given us the green light to just go out there and do our thing, and it's been an awesome experience.
Absolutely, and it's been great to see the words the Hart Foundation continuing on. I know you carried that flag in the battle as part of the Hart Dynasty, but here we are with the Hart Foundation. Is it cool to kind of put that still and hold that still on your shoulders, the Hart family legacy? Absolutely.
You know, myself, Brian Pillman Jr., and Teddy Hart, we have our ties with the Hart family, whether it's through blood or through relationships. And, you know, it's great to, you know, live on and, you know, I guess carry the torch, as they say. And Brian Pillman Jr. is doing a fantastic job so far with MLW, too.
Absolutely. And my next question, I spoke to somebody I hadn't talked to in literally 15 years, was Teddy Hart back in July. And, you know, I got to tell you, he just sounds so happy and at peace with himself that he's finally getting the opportunity at a national level with MLW to show what he's always been able to do. You know, from somebody who's a family member of his, what does it mean to you to see him finally get the chance to show the world what we all knew, that he can work?
Oh, absolutely, and I think that it's great. I think that Teddy's gotten the opportunity finally, and he's. I think that over the years he's matured and he's learned from, you know, past mistakes that he's made, and I think that now the Court's given him the opportunity, he's really, like I said, using the green light just to go full force with it, and I'm very happy for that. And Court's been awesome with us. Like I said, it was his idea initially to come up with the new Hart Foundation idea, and then since then we've just kind of grown off it and you know, kind of expanded on it. So it's been awesome, and I think that there's going to be lots of great things to come with the Hart Foundation and MLW also.
Very cool. Now, I swear this question was on my list before I knew he was there, but I was going to ask you, what do you think of the progression of Brian Pillman Jr. from when you first saw him to where he is now?
Oh, yeah, you know what? He's doing a great job, and like I said, Brian seems to be listening to advice that myself and Teddy Hart have been giving him, and he has good guys in his corner like Rip Rogers and Jim Cornette and other guys that are sort of mentoring him also. And you know what? He's doing really, really great. I think that he's got a lot of his father's attributes athletically and charismatically also. And I'm very excited for the future for Brian.
Absolutely. All right. So there's some other guys that you've been working with, and I had on Hammerstone and Holiday recently. And, you know, I kind of said, let's get out of character a little bit. What do you think of working with the Hart Foundation? And both of them, despite themselves, managed to eke out a compliment here and there. What is your thoughts on these two guys? Because I think these two guys, and of course MJF, everybody's kind of becoming aware of MJF at a rapid pace. What is your take on the Dynasty and their skill set?
You know what? Like I said, storyline-wise, we don't necessarily get along on TV. And, you know, they're not my ideal types of wrestlers that I would like, but they are all very hardworking. And I think Hammerstone, I really do respect him because not only has he shown that he wants to learn and that he's improving, but he's got a great physique also. And he does a lot of things that impress me, you know, like that missile drop kick he does off the top rope. You know, he does a lot of things that big guys don't necessarily have to do, but I think he makes that effort to show that he can, and he's got a lot of good athletic abilities. I think MJF, he's just a complete genius on the microphone, and he's got a lot of charisma, and I think that everything that he does, him and Holiday both do, in the ring has meaning and purpose, and I think that their characters are not necessarily that I agree with what they do, but they're very, very smart and cunning, and I think that sky's the limit for them. I could see them doing great things in this business going forward, you know. So, but I have to say that I am, although I don't want to necessarily admit it, but I am mostly impressed with Hammerstone. I think that he's a real workhorse for sure.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, he's a local Arizona boy, kind of cut his teeth right around my neck of the woods. So it does good to see a local guy from Arizona. Not too many of us out there who went out there and really did well for himself. So I'm glad to see him continuing to rise through the ranks. Sure. So you mind if I ask you a couple questions outside of MLW?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so earlier this year you left New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I had Michael Elgin on, who left right around the same time that you did. Now, of course, he's with Impact Wrestling. He kind of described himself, he said, New Japan has become a place for new toys, and I wasn't a new toy anymore. Did you kind of feel like that might be why, you know, you chose this would be the right time to exit NJPW?
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of describing it. And, you know, the thing was that I had my back up against the wall, and I just felt that, you know, they were very, very much in control of everything. But, like, say, for instance, I could have gone out there, which I was doing, and busted my ass and, you know, worked as hard as I could have and, you know, put on great performances. And then at the same time, if I had gone out there and maybe got my hair cut like Brian Knobbs and started wrestling like Nails or Steve McMichael, it wouldn't have changed anything. It was just whatever that they had in mind, that was the way it was going to go. So my inspiration and my motivation was definitely down towards the very end. And there was nothing that I could do because that was just the way that they were going to have it. And when the new owner came into play, Harold Meiji, I'm not sure what happened there, but things definitely changed, and I could see that he was wanting to, like Michael Elgin said, with the new toys kind of quote. And they were just going in that direction. And it was like, well, and they were only giving me 4 tours a year, and they told me that that they couldn't increase KES's workload. And I just said, well, and there was a lot of things. I'm actually doing an upcoming event for CMLL on October the 5th with Brian Pillman Jr. and Teddy Hart. But, you know, if I were still with New Japan Pro Wrestling, they wouldn't have allowed that because they have their working relationship with AAA, I believe. And, you know, there was just a lot of things like that. And, you know, New Japan, they didn't want me doing any work with Impact when I had asked them. And it was like, well, at the same time, I want to be exclusive to you guys, but if you're only offering me 4 tours a year, you know, how are we going to make that work? You know, and it wasn't full-time work, so I just said I had to respectfully, exit out. But that's the way that Mike Logan described it. That's pretty accurate.
I thought he he summed it up in a soundbite. I think that's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
We have Mike
Logan, by the way, he's a really fantastic performer. I hope I get a chance to lock horns and step in the ring with him. I think that he's one of the best guys out there right now. Real hard worker too.
Absolutely. And speaking of hard workers, we kind of have an unwritten rule. Every 5 years, and it's been going for 15 years now, shows how old I am. I have on Lance Archer, your former tag team partner. He's, now he's kind of without KES there. What do you think of his prospects in New Japan and outside of New Japan back in the States? You think he'll land on his feet okay?
You know what? I'm sure he will. Lance is, like I said, what the wrestling business is missing nowadays are big guys. And Lance is a big guy. He's got great size. He's got a lot of good athletic abilities. I mean, for a guy his size to be able to do a moonsault off the top rope is pretty damn impressive. But you know what? Although Archer and myself, we've separated as a tag team, it's great to see that we're both doing great things for our careers. Like, I know that Lance had a really, really awesome match with Will Ospreay a couple months ago. And then just this past weekend, I had a great match with Tom Lawler for Bloodsport. So although we've separated, we're still doing great things for our careers in different directions. And like I said, if things were different, I would still be with New Japan and teaming up with Lance and, running roughshod there. But whether or not Lance will do more in the United States or not, I'm not sure. I think that some companies should look into him because he's a big guy. He's got great size, and he really knows what he's doing in there, and he's got a lot of experience. So I hope that he does do more stuff in the United States for sure.
He admitted to me
he'll do more in New Japan. I'm not sure. That's I don't know.
All right. He admitted to me he was jealous of your age when we spoke last time.
That's funny.
All right.
Lance is a great guy. Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. So, you're probably tired of talking about this, but I kind of got the feeling that things might not have been all great with you guys in New Japan when you weren't part of the G1 Supercard show at Madison Square Garden, and instead you went to the Hall of Fame. Don't need a recount of everything that happened. I think we all know what happened, but what is your thoughts on that whole thing? Just a short thought on the whole attack on Bret Hart, and are you glad that guy got what he deserved?
Oh, he got what he deserved, and he should have gotten more. I was, Bret and Natty, they were like sitting ducks in the ring, and I can't believe that guy had the nerve to do that. He's obviously got mental problems, but more than that, I think he's just a complete idiot and was looking for attention. But hopefully jail treats him right. I haven't heard any new updates on whether charges are being pressed or what what's happening right now with the court system with him. But yeah, he got what he deserved, and that was a really, really special moment that he kind of took away from my family. Bret Hart was out there to induct my uncle Jim Neidhart, and he was trying to make a name for himself or do something. And but it's almost a good thing I didn't get there to him sooner, because I was really mad, and I was when I went out there, I was seeing red, and I thought it was almost a work at first or a gimmick, because it was just like, how can this happen? And unfortunately, I think that WWE security should have been on top of things better, and hopefully that they've learned something from that situation, and hopefully that they have better security for next year for the Hall of Fame or something, because there was no barricades or anything. The guy just left from the stands, and just was able to get in the ring. So, but luckily, he didn't have any weapons or anything on him, which was a good thing, because guys like that, you never know what they're capable of or what they have in mind. So I'm glad that Bret was okay, and he managed to finish off the speech and everything. So. Absolutely. So you kind of probably get tired of getting asked this one too, but I have to ask because it's one of the
most common questions I got asked when I told people I was having you on. Your dad is not in the Hall of Fame, and it's kind of staggering. When people find that out, they seem surprised. They just assume he's already in. Do you think we'll see him in there soon?
Well, I think that him and Owen Hart are both sort of conspicuous by their absence. I do believe that he will be in the Hall of Fame eventually. Why he isn't already, I'm not sure. I wish I had the answers, but I don't, and I don't know how the WWE rates things, or how that if they have like not an assembly line, but who they decide or dictate that's going to be in the Hall of Fame this year as opposed to next year, or why this guy is or isn't.
Kind of seems seat of the pants to me.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure, and I think that Jim Neidhart should have been inducted earlier also, but you know what, I'm not sure how that they rate things with as far as that goes. I do believe he will be inducted someday, and I certainly hope that Owen Hart gets inducted eventually someday too. Despite the Martha's feelings towards it, but it's a big thing, and it's a way to honor them, and it's a good thing for the fans. It's not necessarily for WWE or for their egos. So hopefully Owen's going to be able to be inducted as well.
I hope so. So we'll circle back to MLW in just a sec. We're on the route back that way right now. Bret appeared for AEW, Double or Nothing, and there's a lot of guys that are working for MLW that are working for AEW. We mentioned MJF, Tony Schiavone's another one. What is your thoughts on AEW, the brand, and is that a fit that might work for you as a second generation guy going there, or even third generation?
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. I think that AEW, I think that it's great because any competition is good competition, right? And I think that I'm going to check out NXT tonight and AEW, but I think that the more competition that's out there, the better that both products are going to be, because they're both competing against each other, right? I think that Cody Rhodes he's an amazing talent as well, and I think that AEW would be a great fit. The only problem is, or the big issue is right now, is I am actually legally obligated to Major League Wrestling under contract. So I don't know if I could sign with AEW, be exclusive to them, or if I could do just appearances for them, because I know that MJF is signed now to AEW, but he's able to do appearances for MLW as well. So I would definitely be up for it. I'm just not sure about the contract or the legal obligations that I have with MLW. I would love to do appearances for AEW if Court Bauer and they could work together. And they've been doing some great stuff. I'm really excited to see what AEW has in store for the future. And it seems like they're really pushing a lot of the young guys, which is good. And but one thing that I will say about AEW is that they are missing some big guys, like physically big. And I think that I would be a good fit because they don't have a lot of guys, that are 6'5" in that field of size. So I'm just kind of waiting to see. I'm kind of waiting to see how their product is going to unfold, basically. So yes. Very
cool. A couple weeks back, there was a news story that MLW was supportive of your want to get involved in MMA. How involved are you getting in MMA, and can we see you possibly have a fight scheduled soon?
Yeah, for sure. You know what? Jack Swagger, or Jake Hager, and we were training together a lot down in Tampa. Like I had just mentioned a little bit earlier before we got on the air, I sprained my ankle really bad, and I was still able to wrestle this past weekend just because I had it taped up. But I'm going to take a couple weeks off and get back into it. But Jake and we were really making each other. I think we were improving and helping each other out in the gym. And I think that Bellator would be a good fit for me. I just need to kind of get back into the realm of things, training full time, which I was. But you know what, injuries happen like this, and you never know when that's going to happen. But the only thing that you can do is just rehab it and recover it, and don't push yourself too much to go back into the gym too early. Make sure that the injury's healed 100%, because you go back too soon and then you re-injure it, and then all of a sudden you got a chronic injury going on. So, but yes, I am definitely interested. I just have a lot of obligations right now on with my independent dates and stuff in Mexico that I would like to do it, but it's just I'm going to need some more full-time training again to before I hop in the pool with a mixed martial arts fight, I suppose you could say. But I am interested, and that is the plan going forward, yes.
Very cool. I recently had Ken Shamrock on, and he basically said that he could not do MMA anymore, but he could still do wrestling. Is it that different of a training regimen?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, Ken would know. I mean, he's done both, but it's, like I said, it's, with my ankle injury, even this one, if I had to go out there and do a professional wrestling match, we can work around it. We can use some smoke and mirrors. But in MMA, if a guy's trying to really punch you in the face or take you down, you can't say, we'll stay away from my ankle. You can do that in rolling and practice and say, hey, man, I got a bad right ankle. Please don't, try to Achilles lock your butt in a fight. So it is different. And but you know what? Pro wrestling's hard too. And Ken probably said that, but as far as being a full-time pro wrestler, like on a WWE schedule, that's pretty tough too. So, sometimes the travel is harder than going out there and wrestling in the ring, when you got to be up at 4 a.m. and make sure that your bags are packed, and you have to make sure you're going to the gym every day. It's a tiring schedule too. So what Ken is saying is pretty much accurate though.
All right, just a couple more questions. MLW, Saturday Night Super Fight, the debut pay-per-view from you guys. And, this company has roots that go all the way back to 2002. Obviously, the relaunch has been, even bigger than the first run around. But this is probably the biggest night in company history, the Saturday Night Super Fight pay-per-view. I guess, first of all, do you think your ankle will be ready to go for November 2nd? And secondly, what do you think about this pay-per-view?
Oh, yeah, my ankle will be should be 100% by then. I think that it's going to be great. I mean, this is their first live pay-per-view, and I don't know who my opponent is yet, but I think that this is not make it or break it time for MLW, but I think that it's an important event, and I think that it's a little bit stressful because I think all eyes are going to be on that company for that super fight show. And I'm excited and kind of nervous about it at the same time, but it's a good nervous, you know what I mean? I'm very excited for it, absolutely, 100%. And hopefully my fans over in Japan and over in the United Kingdom are able to tune in and check that out as well.
Very cool, very cool. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. My wife grew up watching World of Sport wrestling with your dad when he was, just getting started. She was a little girl too, but very cool to finally get a chance to have you on the show. I've wanted to have you on for a number of years, so I really appreciate you taking the time of doing this.
Yeah,
all right,
not a problem at all. That's great to hear.
Before I let you go, can I ask for one last favor from you?
For sure.
You probably know what it is. It's just a station ID, just saying this is Davey Boy Smith Jr., and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter?
That's the name, yes, sir.
Sure. This is Davey Boy Smith Jr., and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter.
Hey, it's Tony Schiavone, and you're listening to the Wrestling Epicenter. And I would stick around